Hi, my name's Gemma, I work for Mountain Warehouse. In this video, we're going to talk about how to properly fit your walking boot. Click here and you can see the videos on how to choose the correct walking boot for you as well. Bring in the right socks that you're going to wear. Also any footbeds, any orthotics or any kind of things that you need to put in your boot before you're going to start trying them on. The first thing to remember as well is that when you're trying the boots on, to put both boots on, don't lace them up yet, but just wiggle your toes around. Make sure that you can spread your toes evenly to the ends of the boots. And also that when you are standing up in the boots, you should be able to push your toes right to the front of the boot. And then you should be able to get your index finger down the back of the boot. Okay, so another test that you can do as well, just to make sure that you've got the right fit for the boot, is to stand up and just gently rock to and from on the balls of your heels. On the balls of your heels? On the balls of your feet, then rocking back to your heels. Another thing you can do as well is just kind of crouch down and bend forward, and that'll just see whether your heels are lifting out the back of the boot as well. Because you don't want any heel lift at the back, because that means that, again, if your heel lifts up at the back over a period of time, that can be what causes friction, and that can be what creates a blister. The boot needs to have room for your foot to swell into it, and that's a really important thing. And that's sometimes when people find the most problems, is because the boots are actually in fact too small. Similarly though, you don't want to go for a boot that's too big. A lot of people just assume that because they're buying walking boots, they have to go up a size, and this just isn't necessarily the case. They vary a lot between styles and fits and cuts. So you might be a size 7 in one, but then you might be a size 8 in the other. So size doesn't always determine what you actually need. Once you take your walking boots and you're happy and you've tried them on, if you go home, wear them in the house for a minimum really of 2 hours, because that simulates a 4 or 5 mile walk, then that's when problems seem to occur. So at least if you've worn them in the house, you've got the labels still on, you can bring them back to store and try on another pair. Whereas if you've just taken them straight out and worn them on the hill and they end up not being quite right, then that means that you obviously can't bring them back, and that's a bit of a disappointment. So it is quite a fine line of getting something that has a little bit of room in it, but not too much room that you get blisters. That is quite important. Normally when people lace boots, they'll go right up to the top, like this, and then tie a bow at the top. It's all very well and good, keeps it on your foot, no problem. The only problem with that is it doesn't put the pressure in the correct area on the boot. So what this does is it just pulls all the pressure around the thinnest part of the ankle. What you're actually wanting to do is lock the heel down into the back of the boot and again prevent your heel lift. So really simple trick is just pretending you're lacing the boots upside down. So go around your heel lock, cross over, and then go right to the very top of the boot. I mean, there's like 101 ways of lacing boots differently, but this is one in store that we feel is the simplest. Then go around again, and then you'll tie the boot at the bottom. So there's only really an inch gap from the bottom to the top, but what that does is it just puts all the pressure down to this bit of the boot, and again it'll stop the heel lifting. Well, if you've got a boot like this that just has one little cleat at the top, there's not a lot of point in lacing that any different. But when you've got the boots with 3 different eyelets, it's just worth considering that, the way that you lace them up can be, it can quite alter the fit of the boot, and it'll feel totally different in the shop. Sometimes it's a good idea to lace one that way and then one the way you normally lace it, and you can feel the difference. It is quite surprising. Sometimes, rather than getting a brand spanking new pair of boots, there are other options that you can get to breathe life into your old faithful favourite boots. There's 3 things that you can do with this. One is just really simply putting a new pair of laces on. That's a good way of just readjusting the tension on the boot, and just making the fit that little bit more precise, because over time the laces do stretch, and that means that the tongues stretch out as well. New socks, you can never beat a new pair of socks. Over time your old walking socks get all compressed, the stitching in them also becomes a little bit compacted. Men's boots and ladies' boots, they are very similar to look at, but sometimes the width can be narrower or broader. So particularly if you have a smaller foot but you're a chap, then you could always go for ladies' boots in like a black or a grey or something that isn't purple. And then if you're a lady, maybe with a size 8 or 9 foot, then a men's boot is maybe an option as well, just because it has a little bit of breadth over the toes. Okay, so this is an example of one of the PU midsoles that we do. As you can see, it's got a lot of thickness to it, and all you have to do is simply take out your old footbed and then put this one back into it, and it will give you a lot of bounce, a lot of spring, and it will make your boots hopefully feel like new. Hopefully that you'll be now armed with a little bit of advice for when you come into store and look for some new boots. Just remember to not go with the first ones that you see, try on a few, but also give yourself quite a bit of time, because it's not a process that can be rushed, and you have to make sure that they're comfortable for you, and just hope you get the right ones and happy walking.